Welcome everyone to our YouTube channel, and we do appreciate those of you who do subscribe to it and those of you that haven't yet that may in the future. But we do want to present to you a teaching here, something a little bit unique. At the present time, as you know, there have been several bank crises which have taken place in three major banks, and these are banks that loaned a lot of money to startup companies, and especially companies that were involved with some of the technological companies. There was a lot of crypto connected with that. And we're not going to go into that. There's enough insight and information that has come out on the reason that these banks had the type of failure that they did have. What I think concerns the average person, and it would be the average person who watches our particular teaching, would be local banks. For example, we in Tennessee have numerous local banks, and our county, which is Bradley County, is a very blessed county economically. And of course, we have people that are homeless. We have people who are looking for jobs. I mean, there's a lot of things that every county has, no matter where it is. But in the long-term sense of things, any day that you go out and you drive down Keith or Paul Huff Highway, all the restaurants are just about full. You hardly have a good restaurant that does not have cars packing it out literally every single day. And then we discover when you also travel around and look that there are signs up everywhere, help wanted, help wanted, help wanted. So there are available jobs. Now, it may not be the job that people want to take, but there are available jobs. But one of the concerns is the transferring of money out of local banks, and somehow how that transferring of money would affect that particular bank if there were to be a lot of transferring of funds out of the bank. Now, what some people are doing, because we have a number of banks that we have used over the years. We don't just use one. We actually have 4 or 5 because we have different funds, Samaritan Fund, Missions Fund, OCI Fund, VOE Fund. I mean, all sorts of funds. So we do not put everything in one particular bank. But we try to find out the history of that bank. Is that bank solid and that type of thing before we ever would put any income in that particular bank. What some of the individuals have done is this. They have taken, and this would not be for the average person that has maybe a savings account, $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000. This would be pretty much for an individual that would have $400,000, $600,000, $800,000, $1 million saved up, which are not that many individuals based on the statistics of research that come out of banks of the number of people that have savings accounts. But one thing is that the government-sponsored insurance that banks have to pay for will cover up to $250,000. But in other words, if there's a problem that you have a guarantee, it's an insurance. Most of you know about this. They would guarantee that amount. What some people are doing, because you can now do certain things by taking money, let's say $250,000, putting it in a bank and get interest from that, because the rising interest rates have now allowed people to put money in certain borrowing institutions, certain banks, and you have to check with your individual bank on this, and then you actually gain interest on that particular account. And so a lot of people are transferring the large amounts of money and spreading it out to different banks. And we were actually recommended on some of our accounts that we've had for years, because we keep what we call an emergency fund in our ministry, that let's say there would be a total collapse or downturn that would last for a long time. Our work is basically financed by resources, which are audio teachings, DVDs, books, etc. And of course, if there is a huge economic downturn, people use their what's called expendable income to purchase those particular items. And we do know that if we look at, the high grocery bill, the higher bill that is coming to people that mortgage their home, and now they're having to pay higher interest rates, or they purchase a home under a higher interest rate, it's causing people to have more income for like your basics and also your mortgage and different things of that nature. So what happens is what we call the expendable income, which is the pocket money that people have, where they may go to dinner and eat on a weekend with their wife or their kids, or take their kids out to an amusement park, or just any or even to the mall shopping. That expendable expendable income has been reduced to a certain percentage in most families, especially throughout the United States, who we consider blue-collar workers. So a lot of people just want to make sure that their bank is going to be there. So you can find research to look at your bank. And if you have a question, go to your banker and talk to them about how safe is the bank, and get suggestions from some of these. Most of our bankers that are in our town, or the people that work at the bank, are Christian people. They go to church. Some of them go to church where we go to church, or churches in town. Most of them that we have met and worked with over the years are very honest people. And I'm not saying every person working at a bank is, but you need to get some advice from your banker to ensure that your deposits are safe, to ensure that your savings accounts are safe, and to find out if there is a way of taking a certain amount of income and putting it into different banks or different types of systems that you can get some type of an interest on. And so I hear people, and I want to say this from my opinion, but I hear people say, go to the bank and get all of your cash out. Well, try that and see how easy that is. That is not easy. As a matter of fact, if you were to cash a check, let's say that you sold something, and you were to cash a check, I'm just going to use a number here. You have an $8,000 check from a sale. So if you wanted to go to your bank, and I know this is how it is with our banks now in town, if you were to go to that bank and say, I want $8,000 in cash, you will not get it. There was a day you could, but you will not. Now you can get $2,900. It used to be $5,000. Now they've reduced it to $2,900. I'm suspecting they're going to eventually reduce it to $2,000 to $1,500 to keep more tangible cash in the system itself, because there's only so much cash in every bank, actual cash, and you can only get a certain amount. And if you get a larger amount, it literally takes a week to 2 weeks for them to get that together. So for people to do that, say, I'm taking all my money out of the bank, my question is, where are you going to put it? First of all, if someone who knows you knows that you just went and got thousands of dollars out of a bank, they know where you live, someone, when you're away, could break into your house and look for that. Your house could burn down. A hurricane or tornado could come and just lift up the roof of the house, and everything you've got in there is taken away. I do not think it's wisdom to do that. I think that the best thing to do is find financial systems and banks that are secure systems and they're safe as far as you know from the research, and then spread that out, what you have out, into different accounts, sometimes interest-bearing accounts and things of that nature. I do not think it's wise for anyone to try to get all their money out of the bank. And I hear guys saying that, so I'm going to differ with them on that. I do think, though, to have, for example, with natural disasters, an extra food supply, dried food, to have ways of charging your phone and some of your computers, and you can buy these little devices that are solar generated in order to do that. You can just plug them in, they have lights on them, etc. You know, to have those things, if the power would go out for a week or 2 weeks or longer, to where you can make it and your family can make it, is not stupid. That's not being an extreme prepper, as some would suggest. I think it's actually wisdom with the hurricanes, the earthquakes, and the tornadoes, tsunamis, and possibilities, to always have backup systems. And then if an emergency happens in your town and something takes place where you have to get out of town, you need to have a plan set up with your children, public school, where you would meet. Sometimes even on 9/11, the phones were so jammed, people could not even get a phone call through. So it's good to have plans of how to get out of town, plans of escape, especially we have chemical plants up the road from here. We have a plant that produces, from what I understand, it produces the solar panels here, but they use a lot of chemicals. And so there was a small explosion a while back, and they were not allowing people to go up in that area. So remember where you're living. Are there trains that come through with chemicals? We've seen what's happened in certain cities with that. Are there chemical plants in the area? What would happen if something would happen? You don't live in fear, but you prepare for these things. Make you a list with your family. Here's what you do in the case of this. Here's where we meet. Here's where we go. And always have that. Here's why, because if you are prepared, you're not as scared. God doesn't tell you what's going to happen to scare you, but to prepare you. But if you're prepared, it takes the fear element out, because you know, hey, we're ready for that. Several years back when COVID hit, our food shelves were empty here in town. A truck would come in, people were panicking. Guess what? My wife and I didn't have to panic one bit. You know why? We had extra food. So we let the other people who needed to get it, and we were able to function the entire time with what we had. That's the wisdom that we're talking about right here. So when we have talked to our bank, they've shared with us about spreading this out into interest-bearing accounts, some of the income. And also we always check with the people who were there. And I'm not talking about a teller behind the counter. I'm talking about if you have had a good relationship with your bank, always check on it, keep up with it, and be careful of all the suggestions of people that are not professional in that field. And someone said, well, we're all going to go to crypto. Well, if we have to go to crypto, we go to crypto. If we have to go to cashless, we're going to go to cashless. And there's nothing we can do about that if that time comes. But right now, use wisdom. And also, always be careful of running up bills on credit cards or things if you're not able to pay them without paying the interest. So my suggestion is be informed, be knowledgeable, go to your banks or your corporations, wherever you work, whatever you deal with there, and listen to people who really know. Don't be scammed. There's a lot of romance scammers out there. There's a lot of people calling, you've won the sweepstakes, and most of them have a foreign accent that call you, and it's a scam. They want you to go to your bank, take over your computer, and they steal what you have. Don't fall for scams. Don't fall for these handsome men that, I need to talk to you, and I'd like to get to know you. These women, they are pictures of people that exist. It's people have stolen their pictures, and they're scamming people. People are sending them money. People are sending their houses, their mortgage to their house. They're giving away stuff to scammers, people that are absolutely fake people with fake profiles. So don't get caught up in any of that. And so that's just a little suggestion. I was thinking about, we talked to our bank recently. I was thinking about just sharing a little bit of that from my heart with you. And we just hope that Scripture says that you'll prosper and be in health even as your soul prospers. And, another thing is, don't just be a hoarder of storing up your income, because the older you get, why be 80, 85 years of age, and you have this big bank account, and you're not enjoying traveling, you're not enjoying going to these great conferences like the ones that we have or other people have in town. You need to take what you've got, instead of putting it in there somewhere and just, storing for a rainy day. Begin to have fun, because you're going to get too old to travel one day, and one of these days you're going to pass away, and then what's going to happen to all that you worked for? So enjoy what the Bible says. Enjoy the fruit of your labor. Enjoy the fact that you've worked hard with the works of your hands, okay? And so that's my little suggestion. Well, it's a rather long video, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Give us a thumbs up if you will. Subscribe to the channel and keep watching, because we always have a special offer for you.